Hi there, I'm Daniel Zivian. 2020, 5780, year of the bat, damn it. Rat, no, that is still worse. Really, we should have seen it coming. I mean, with all the scientific research, the discovery of COVID-19 the year before, the briefing of various governments. The problem is, sometimes you don't know what you're dealing with until it's already happened, and you can't imagine not having known. There's got to be a phrase or idiom for that, or something. Well, whatever it is, we can't use it to change what happened. We can only look forward. But what have we learned? What lessons can help us in the future? Join us at the Beaumont Bulletin as we trek through the mire of the past year and divine just what took place from March to March. If we're going to recap COVID-19, we have to start somewhere, and we have a baker's dozen of choices. We could start in December in the Wuhan fish market, January in the White House press room, or February with the crash of the stock market and allegations of insider trading. But there's one day that means the most to us. On March 11th, Michigan State President and polite missionary at the door, Dr. Samuel Stanley, sent out a bombshell email. Effective at noon, in-person classes were suspended. Suddenly, our world turned virtual, our academic careers irrevocably altered. And this only made it all the more devastating the next day when March Madness was canceled. It was then we realized just how real this was. Over the next week, various forces went to work. Governor Gretchen Whitmer closed schools, restaurants, and other non-essential businesses. Across the country, fundraisers and concerts were canceled. With hundreds of cases and a death toll in double digits, Governor Whitmer made the call and issued the stay-at-home order on March 23rd. If panic hadn't already taken hold, it was certainly there by April. Food and necessary supplies were in high demand, from your mom's new family stickers for her Chevy Tahoe to your dad's treadmill he swears he'll start on tomorrow, and that dead fish in your bedroom. Seriously, look to your left. Good? Moving on. Of course, the hottest item coming off the shelves was toilet paper. Hordes of shoppers flooded the stores, binging on toiletries. They were on a roll, so to speak. And once these items were out of stock, the state government took matters into their own hands. Literally. On April 29th, Michigan began sending condoms by mail, which only served to remind us of how lonely we are. I personally was not a recipient, but I'm told they vaguely resemble this box. Anyway, aside from the panic buying, ennui was really setting in. With the governor having closed the schools for the rest of the year, us kids were bored as hell. We couldn't even go out for holidays like Memorial Day or 420. We dealt with our boredom by gaming and being depressed. Let's check in on how the adults were doing.
Listen to doctors. It's for your own good.
Okay, so the masses of dissatisfied adults in our state decided to protest the stringent lockdown at the Capitol building in Lansing. This was dubbed Operation Gridlock, and it certainly lived up to the name as conditions only got worse afterwards. This armed and dangerous protest, coupled with a disturbing tweet from President Donald, "Please just stay the hell out of this, oh my goodness, Trump," set us up for some uneasy feelings going into May. We're starting off this month in tragic circumstances. A violent murder in Flint, Michigan. The victim was a security guard at Family Dollar who wouldn't let in a customer not wearing a mask. Thankfully, the criminals were caught, but this is only emblematic of the tensions rising as quarantine pressed on. People were starting to get sick of masks and commercials about our troubling times, and one thing was clear: we wanted to go out. It was warm and we needed that outdoor kick. Starting from May 8th, outdoor businesses were opening back up, which meant that golf carts were finally allowed back on golf courses, as opposed to being on the vacant interstates. In any case, we were all prepared to capitalize on any opportunity we could, and that includes the governor's husband. He made sure to call ahead to a northern Michigan marina to request his boat be put out on the water, emphasizing his status as the first dude. Unfortunately, the Godfather he ain't, and the marina said no. Curses. Foiled again. This was not nearly as important as what transpired May 25th, the death of George Floyd after an officer knelt on his neck for almost 9 minutes. Thankfully, tensions weren't too high and justice was swiftly brought away. The very next day, and in the first days of June, a nationwide response to Floyd's death coalesced. Cities all across the United States were home to protests led by organizations like Black Lives Matter, now more visible than ever as huge groups of people gathered to protest systemic racism and the like. It seemed that real change was on the horizon, an increase in social awareness, and an increase in COVID numbers. On June 18th, tragedy struck in Michigan's prison system. Prisons began experiencing a severe lack of ramen noodles after a manufacturer suffered a COVID outbreak. Now, you might be thinking, toilet paper shortage, ramen shortage, that's just what my apartment's like. What's the big deal? Well, it turns out that ramen is literally currency to our criminals. So, for all you econ majors out there, if you want to simulate your own recession, consider tampering with the noodle supply. Moving on from our criminally convicted to our criminally ripped, gym rats everywhere were disappointed when the Michigan Court of Appeals shot down an attempt to open gyms just hours before they were supposed to do so. I'm told we actually have word from someone deeply affected by this decision. Shamit? Thank you, Shamit. We'll keep that in mind. June ended with an embarrassment for MSU students statewide. Campus favorite bar Harper's was home to its very own COVID super spreader event. Go Green! There were more than 1,000 people there, one of which spread the disease among 85 peers all the way in Grosse Pointe. This led to Harper's subsequent shutdown, which left East Lansing Chads everywhere asking, where can we be incredibly irresponsible now? Happy 4th of July, everyone! How shall we celebrate? Safely? Nah. If you happened upon a beach on July 4th, you would have seen it packed with people, many of whom believing that COVID is a government hoax, the earth is flat, and the moon is made of cheese. Naturally, cases were back on the rise. Despite this, we had a very positive development on the vaccine front. On July 22nd, the Trump administration entered into an agreement with Pfizer to produce millions of doses, with more agreements on the way. This would all have been very well for Donald Mikasa S. Bad Hombre Trump, but let's just say there was a lot of mixed messaging from the man. Not only had the president suggested drinking bleach the month before, now Trump was holding a big Salute to America event at the White House. Packed house, no masks, no distancing. It was like Harper's with the military. I mean, it's one thing to have a bunch of drunkards at the beach or a good old-fashioned federal court looting in the city, but partying with the POTUS as if COVID wasn't real, it's a whole nother beast. It's like if a tsunami was about to hit you and you paid no attention because the president implied that water doesn't exist. Unsurprisingly, it was July that brought quite an achievement. 1 in 3 Americans now knew someone with COVID, which are better odds than knowing someone who is left-handed or higher than the average Bacon number. -3, by the way. Rounding out the first half of the year, Michigan hit a new milestone. And no, it wasn't record snowfall. The state officially reached 100,000 COVID cases within 5 months. A record we wish, well, I think I'd rather take the 8 feet of snow. Unfortunately, the surprises did not end there. On August 18th, MSU shocked its students by announcing the cancellation of in-person classes, turning the once highly populated campus into Michigan's first college ghost town. Here's hoping our dorm rooms haven't collected too much dust, but we didn't need a lockdown for that, did we? As for the younger students of Michigan, school districts began to open back up, as was the case across the country. This back-to-school blitz did not last long, however, as several schools reported major COVID outbreaks. Apparently, the virus planned on getting its own K-12 education. With the first half of the pandemic wrapping up, we're going to head into our halftime show, look over the first half stats to see where Michiganders went wrong and where they can improve. Ladies and gentlemen, Colin Higgins.
Welcome to the Beaumont Bulletin 2020 Halftime Show, presented by MSU Spartans, presented by Rocket Mortgage, presented by Spartan Spit. As Bon Jovi once said, "Whoa, we're halfway there. Whoa, we're living on a prayer." And boy, does 2020 need their prayers to be answered. The only good thing to come out of the first half was the hit Netflix show Outer Banks. Let's quickly recap the first half and see just where went wrong for them and what they need to fix heading into the second half. COVID-19 came out with a hot hand on offense, putting up Black Plague-like numbers. Don't even remember what kind of player he was. 2020 needs to get back on Fauci's original game plan of shutting down, staying inside, or else they risk this virus remaining in 2021. Florida and Trump have proven to be absolute liabilities in their positions, and they need to stop forcing the play. We knew that racism and police brutality could be an issue for 2021 if presented with this kind of offensive game plan, as they've been burned by it a few times in the recent history. With an election coming up for them in the second half, the coaches have the tough decision of sticking with Trump or benching him for Joe Biden. But one thing remains clear: they need that Kurt Russell, Miracle on Ice type halftime speech in order to really get back in it. They must limit the conspiracy theories and accept the results of the election, no matter what the coaches draw it. They need to come together and give it their all as one team in the second half.
Welcome back to 2020, everyone. As always, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Rocket Mortgage and Spartan Spit. Spartan Spit is a program kickstarted by MSU in an effort to increase early detection of COVID-19 on campus. Or is it? Our Beaumont conspiracy correspondent has been spitting up some pretty wild theories about the real truth behind your saliva tests. Marty?
Thank you, Daniel. I have gathered some new evidence about this Spartan Spit that we've been talking about. I need my whiteboard. I can only hope I can give the truth fast enough. Here we are. As we can see, all roads lead to Spartan Spit. What does Stanley want with all this? Is he drinking it? Is there a life-saving serum involved? Nobody needs that much spit. What does it mean? What enzymes is he collecting? I've thought it all out. If he collects all of our Spartan spit and gives it to Sparty, he can make an army of super soldiers, unkillable by any mortal man.
Interesting words as always from Michigan State's finest. Thank you, Marty. You never know what Big Stanley is up to these days. As the fall semester kicked off, incoming freshmen were getting their first taste of premier Big Ten education through their computer screens. But that's no big deal. So what if in-person classes had been canceled? There were still things to enjoy on campus, such as Harper's Bar. Oh, no, wait, that's too soon. There was Spartan football. Nope, also shut down. Let the record show that there was nothing to enjoy on campus. With things looking rather bleak, us fans were blessed with the announcement of Big Ten football returning in October. thanks to either divine intervention or the input of Donald, why are you tweeting about this Trump? Of course, we weren't allowed to be in the stadium, which raises the question, if a football team plays in an empty stadium, are they ever really playing? As any college slacktivist will tell you, everything is political, the month of October included. Our first big ticket item seemingly wraps up one of our major plots. Governor Whitmer's executive orders were ruled unconstitutional by the Michigan Supreme Court on account of some remarkably confused and contradictory legislation. With the orders ineffective, the administration simply rewrote and issued them as requirements posed by our Department of Health and Human Services. I guess they could have just done that in the first place? But we don't have time to play partisan chess, as that very night, Donald the Bleach Machine Trump and the First Lady were diagnosed with COVID. On this night of deeply conflicted feelings, the president was flown to Walter Reed on a helicopter. And that's not even mentioning all of the people who showed up to a Rose Garden ceremony just to contract it from him. Now, we were all hemming and hawing about whether the president would make it or not, but having the best doctors in the world may have tipped the scales in Trump's favor. Just a little, I don't know. As the president recovered, it turned out that Whitmer's story wasn't done yet. Far from it. On October 8th, the FBI revealed charges against several men who were allegedly conspiring to kidnap the governor. These so-called militiamen, Michigan's own off-brand Dirty Dozen, had an absolutely bonkers but credible plan to steal Whitmer away and hold a mock trial in Wisconsin, which sounds like the worst road trip movie ever. Other details in this plan included field training, surveillance on Mackinac Island, and boat destruction. Consider reading up on all this sometime. It's a terrifying hoot. Thankfully, there wasn't much to worry about politically going into next month. Oh, God. Nope. Nope. Not doing it. Hey, if you look up in the corner there or down in the description, you'll see a link to Beaumont's election deep dive, Turbulent, where my co-anchor Sophie explains things much better than I could. Seriously, I really don't want to talk about this. Can we just cut to commercial?
In these troubling times, we know exactly what you need. Soap. A soap product.
It's beginning to look a lot like shutdowns. Everywhere you go, so many shutdowns. Schools shut down. Some restaurants shut down. Gyms shut down. Sorry, Shamit. You would think Governor Whitmer had received a sack of coal the way she was killing the holiday spirit, dishing out partial shutdowns faster than her interpreters could sign. The winter was bitter, the streets were desolate, the hearts of Michiganders were turning ice cold. That is until one man swooped in to save the day.
This winter, one world, one virus.
All right, enough of that. As you can probably guess, Mechanophile and Megan Fox simp Michael Bay did something about as appalling and unsurprising as it gets. Songbird, an action disaster film produced by the man himself, is about COVID-23, a deadlier and more contagious strain of COVID-19. The movie was released on December 11th, and it did horribly. While the less than fruitful returns could be chalked up to poor pacing, flat characters, or laughable dialogue, the biggest anchor to Songbird's success seemed to be that people could not come to theaters to watch people fight against a fictional virus because they were too busy fighting an actual virus. At least it had Craig Robinson. He's always good for a laugh. 2021, a brand new year. And like a phoenix, the world was reborn. Hallelujah! Everything returned to normal as people made New Year's resolutions to mask up and maintain social distancing between each other, and other bold-faced lies we can tell ourselves. Things continued, people. The world still sucked. Some places were opened, more dorms were added to MSU's roster of money-sucking leeches. You'd think the bitter cold, excessive snow, icy roads, and overall bad vibes would force people to stay in and stay safe. However, one can always rely on the average American to screw it up. Schools across the country allowed students back into their halls. Everything was going swell for like a day, but somehow the thousands of students packed elbow to elbow in tight corridors started to contract and spread COVID-19. How this impossibility occurred, nobody could quite understand. Top scientists and experts were contacted, and they all had the same harrowing and well-researched advice. And I quote, LMAO just shut down the schools like we told you to, dumbasses. And also close the gyms. Well, at least everyone who had a New Year's resolution of going to the gym had an excuse not to do it this year. Oh, and I think there was also a little bitty insurrection thing early in January. Again, I allude to the video in the description, our election video. It's pretty good, and I imagine it covers that. Well, a month into the new year, and we couldn't catch a break as the UK variant made its way into Michigan. Nerve-wracking as that may have been, thankfully vaccines were being distributed more and more. Or just more, if you're Johnson & Johnson. Speaking of which, the one-dose wonder was authorized for emergency use, giving us 3 vaccines. Thanos now needs only 3 more to complete the Infinity Gauntlet, for those of you keeping track. With the ever-increasing vaccine rollout, Governor Whitmer finally opened restaurants and bars at 25% capacity with a curfew, because what we need is people rushing home after heavy drinking to cope with a year-long lockdown. But hey, indoor dining is back. We can eat together now. This is a huge win for all the extroverts, and for us introverts, nothing has changed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our COVID retrospective. So what have we learned? Well, I think there are a few lessons we can take out of this. The perseverance of the human spirit, wonders of the medical world, simple empathy. But most importantly, don't eat bats. Imagine if we had known what the past year would have in store for us. But hey, hindsight is 20/20.
Thank you so much for watching the Beaumont Bulletin. Congrats for making it to the end. Now make sure you watch our best videos right here, watch our newest videos up there, and make sure you subscribe. And I guess you can hit that notification bell. I don't know what that means, but I hear people say it a lot on YouTube. Now here I am, on YouTube and an end screen, and here you are watching me. What a world we live in. This is crazy. Just yeah, subscribe, dude.